Good afternoon, YouTube. This is Chip with Hybrid and Electric Car Sales. It's been a while since I've checked in. We've been pushing some of our other social media platforms lately, but got a car here. You'll recognize this 2014 Ford Fusion Hybrid. It's here for a transmission rebuild. This one came to us from Texas, from Angel. Thank you for finding us on YouTube and trusting me with your car, but I'm going to walk you through the rebuild of it. We have some documentation here, but we haven't done a startup video in a while, so I'm going to start this one up. The initial complaint was leaking fluid underneath the car, which was coming from the driver's side axle seal. And what happens is it leaks from the axle because there's a lot of play in there, and there's a lot of play because the bearing has gone bad. And now that's on the differential side, that's on the drive side, but the noise that you're going to hear when I start it up is actually coming from the stator bearing. And that goes bad when all this metal gets shot through the transmission because the other bearings have failed. So if you catch the other bearings soon enough, you can prevent some of this other stuff from happening. But at the end of the day, change your fluid. So here's what it sounds like. All right, so you hear that there. Now this one's got 138,000 miles on it. Someone made a comment that they'd like me to tell the miles on the car, so I'll tell you. 2014, 138,000 miles on it. Never had a fluid change until a couple weeks ago when they started trying to address this issue. So we're going to pull it out. We got an axle to put in it that they brought to us, but we'll get this rebuilt. All new bearings, all new seals, and it will be running good. So stay tuned with us, and we'll walk you through it. All right, I want to show you underneath this car. You can see all the fluid here. If you see how wet that is, you can actually see some droplets sitting there on the bottom of the transmission. So this is the axle seal. If you're looking here, that's the passenger side axle. This is the driver's side CV axle. And you can see there's way too much play in there. And because this axle can move this much, it moves in the seal, and then the fluid comes out, and then it starts self-destructing. So that is part of what we're fixing. And then the stator bearing went bad on the outward side of this case. So that's what we're gonna fix. All right, well, here we are back with the Texas car. I got the transmission all rebuilt. I actually did a live stream of me rebuilding this whole transmission. So I'm not gonna include that in this video because I haven't figured out a way to live stream and record on my phone at the same time. I think I gotta get like an iPad or something for live streaming, but that's a separate conversation. So this one's all done. We found some really interesting stuff on the inside of this transmission. Someone has definitely been in here before. We had mentioned on this deal, I had some stripped subframe bolts, a stripped EGR valve. We're gonna have to re-tap that hole in the frame. I have two, or in the block, I have two holes here in the frame of the car that I'm gonna have to re-tap, and I had to order a bunch of new hardware because the bolts, look at these things. Whoever was in here before just didn't clean the holes, just shoved this stuff back up in there. I don't even know where the bad one is. That is the bad one right there. And then the EGR bolt is all buttered up. Look at this thing. That's your EGR valve right there. Look at it. Like the threads are all rolled and everything. Like again, there was crap in the hole and just threaded that in there. So let's talk about what we found. So someone's been in here before, without a doubt. I found a bunch of weird sealing in the bolts here on the transmission housing, but inside the transmission, the stator bearings, this is what I found. I found sealed bearings attached to the stator, and this is what the bearings are supposed to look like. These are open-end NSK bearings, but on the outermost bearing, so on the EV side, on the EV cover, which is on the opposite side of this, someone had popped just the out cover off and just replaced these two bearings on the outermost side and then sealed it back up with some RTV, just a ton of it. It was caked on everywhere. They had this side of the transmission open. I can tell because of the RTV, and they had some other stuff going on with the bolts, but they did not, I don't think they replaced anything in there, but it wasn't shimmed correctly. We had a bunch of bearing failure. You can see here, this was the main failure here, and you can see how much plays in that. And that was the axle moving that I showed you in that very first section of this video of how much play was in that axle. It's all from that bearing. And that was shimmed too tight. I actually had to take some shim out of the transmission. Now that could have been due to the new transfer gear there's a whole bunch of reasons, but we re-shimmed it. It should be good. But this was interesting because I always wondered if this was possible to put a seal bearing in there. And the question is no, because they've had this, and that's what it was screaming. You heard the noise. Now, it was milling into the side of the case with the transfer gear here, but I've never seen this before. Well, that answers the question. So the seal bearings will not work. And this bearing is super tight. It's like, it's not right. So they were making some noise. We had some bearings bad on the freewheel here and also on the transfer gear. So we're going to get this back together tomorrow. We live streamed, again, the whole rebuild. So if you want to check that out, we'll have that posted up later tonight. I tried to take you all the way through the process of it. So stay tuned on this build. We'll have this one back together. We'll show you the test drive after it's done and how the transmission goes back in. All right, good morning. Friday morning. Transmission is back in the car. You can see here, got new seals in there. We were able to get the subframe tapped out, and I was able to get the block re-tapped, and new bolts are here. So we're all good. I'm about to put the subframe back in. Let me show you what's going on outside today. It is like a blizzard going on. They're calling this Snowmageddon, but I'm here at the shop. I'm getting this car done, and we'll have it all back and running here shortly. Okay, time for an update on the Texas car. Transmission is back in. All the subframe bolts went back in fine after we tapped them. EGR went on fine after we tapped it. Checked for coolant leaks, no leaks whatsoever. We just filled it up with transmission fluid, flushed the cooler. Right now I'm gonna lower it down, hook the battery back up, and start it up for the first time. And then we will top off the coolant, top off the transmission fluid, put back on all the covers, and then we'll wait to test drive it because, as for the snow update, a couple hours later, still coming down pretty good. So we won't be test driving it today, but it'll at least be running and pulling in and out of this space. So I'll stay tuned. All right, good morning. Well, here it is outside of the shop finally. Once all the snow got cleared off, we're all finished with it. Transmission got rebuilt. We re-tapped all those holes. I'll go ahead and start it up for you now so you can see. Let me flip the camera. Start up. Nice and quiet. All right, no lights on, nothing like that. We already put about 40 miles on this car since the rebuild's been done. But just wanted to kind of do a follow-up, letting you know the car is all finished up, no leaks. We got to top off the coolant before we let it go. It always settles down after a day. But as you can see, driving around, no lights on, it's a great car. So if you need to get this service done to your Fusion Hybrid or Fusion Energy, C-Max Hybrid or Energy, or Lincoln MKZ Hybrid, give me a call here at 615-802-5550. You can reach out to me in person at 616 Bradley Court at beautiful Franklin, Tennessee, or check us out online at hybridandelectriccarsales.com. So again, this service is $4,000 to rebuild the transmission. This one had some extra stuff that needed to be done, so that's the going rate right now. And today is January in 2025. So reach out to us and hope to talk to you soon. You guys have a great day.